Mackey and Judd, the after show, I guess episode 3 of Countless, until we get bored with these, or until management says,
or until we're showing the door.
You guys are just gone. You were at Vikings minicamp yesterday. What'd you see?
I saw Christian Ponder standing, washing
his hair,
helmet like this. Christian Ponder and I did almost the same amount of work in the practice yesterday, day 1 of the 3-day minicamp for the Vikings. Mike Zimmer said yesterday before the practice that this is an open competition at quarterback. And, of course, he's a new head coach. He wants to create competition. No one can blame him for that. I don't know. When it comes to Matt Cassel and Bridgewater, I think Cassel's the starter. Bridgewater's learning behind him. I don't know for sure that Bridgewater can't compete in training camp. But the only thing I can figure, Phil, is when it comes to Christian Ponder, that Christian Ponder is being sort of propped up because the Vikings are hoping come training camp, a desperate team calls and says, we'll give you a 6th-round pick for him. There might be, for all we know, Bridgewater and Cassel might actually compete. Christian Ponder's not competing, but yet we're told it's an open competition.
We went over the Bill Polian article today from last week on ESPN.com, former GM of the Colts, obviously. And he explained, even though they started Peyton Manning right off the bat, and he threw 28 interceptions his rookie year, and was not good until year 2 or year 3, that even though they did that, preferably he would have waited until maybe even the 2nd or 3rd year, sat the rookie quarterback longer. And so that got us talking about how long should you sit Teddy Bridgewater. You and I both said today we wouldn't be offended if he sits for a full year, although I'll throw this out. If they're out of the race, if they're 4-8 going into the end of November, beginning of December, and it's kind of pressure-free football, if you can just put Bridgewater in to develop him for 4 games without worrying about, we're a game back in the division or we're trying to get to a 10-6 record. If you can put Bridgewater out there for a month, let him develop all year, hold a clipboard, learn, and then have him get his feet wet in non-pressure situations, I'd be fine with that. I don't want him, unless they have a stone-cold read on him as a great leader, a Russell Wilson and Andrew Luck, I'd rather him not play in high-pressure games.
Suhan, Jim Suhan, Star Tribune columnist who joins us at 12:20 each weekday, didn't agree with this, but here's what I want. Teddy Bridgewater can play whenever the Vikings feel he is ready to play. What this should never hinge on is Matt Cassel. Cassel struggles. Cassel gets hurt. I don't care. Matt Cassel and Bridgewater should never be tied together, other than the fact that hopefully Bridgewater can learn from playing behind Cassel. What I don't want, and where the Vikings, if the Vikings did Christian Ponder one disservice, besides drafting him, obviously, the disservice they did him was, I think it was 5 games into the 2011 season. They're off to a horrible start. McNabb is just terrible. They're down at halftime and playing really bad at Soldier Field. And so the Vikings turn to Ponder and say, go in there. Well, that was done because McNabb was playing poorly. I don't like that. Teddy Bridgewater should not take one snap until Norv Turner and Mike Zimmer and everybody else feel that Bridgewater is ready. And if that means Cassel gets hurt and Bridgewater is not prepared to play, you don't play Teddy Bridgewater. They should not ever be tied together.
And I think, to your point a couple minutes ago about Zimmer saying it's an open competition, we're going to give everyone a chance to compete, all 3 quarterbacks, I think what he means is we're going to give Bridgewater a realistic chance to compete. If he could put rankings on, percent chance each one of these guys starts, I think Zimmer would tell you 90% Matt Cassel, 9% Teddy Bridgewater, and 1% Christian Ponder if the other 2 guys go into the ditch on the way back up from Mankato and can't play.
And the X factor, here's the only thing I can't figure out. If you're going to assign percentages like that, where Bridgewater ranks right now, it might be higher than we think.
We think it should be here's the 5 or 10%.
Here's the one thing that they could look at and actually weigh: Russell Wilson, because the Seattle Seahawks signed Matt Flynn to a huge contract, a free agent contract, a starter's contract. Matt Cassel is signed as a bridge quarterback, 2 years, $10 million. Matt Flynn was signed away from the Packers as a free agent to a big contract to be a starter. They draft Russell Wilson in, 3rd round that year? Russell Wilson comes in and wins the starting job. There is a chance that the Vikings will look at this in a similar situation. Now, you got to be careful, because I'm not sure that the Minnesota Vikings in 2014 have every element the Seattle Seahawks had a couple of years ago. But that would be the only thing that I can't assign a percentage to. If they're seeing it and saying, you know what, if Teddy Bridgewater flat out wins the job, he wins the job. The only thing I know is that Christian Ponder has no chance of playing for this team.
Well, maybe Ponder can win our Mr. Mankato award.
And by the way, it's too bad. I feel bad for him because he's not a bad guy. I saw him at practice yesterday. What do you say to him at this point?
I mean,
Because you have to be honest about
his
it,
wife
right?
blocked me on Twitter, so I don't know if I'm going to be saying much of anything. But like, why would you?
block
Who
you.
who blocks? It's.
Why do you block a
I don't even know why
journalist?
she blocked me.
She's a
I've
fellow
never
journalist.
tweeted at Sam Ponder before.
She could learn from you.
Yeah.
Much like
I am a broadcast
Bridgewater-
journalist, Danny.
Much like Bridgewater is going to learn from Cassel, Sam Potter could have learned from you, and she
could've.
blocked you.
And now the relationship is severed.
All
But
right, we're done.
Mr. The hashtag is out there, Mr. Mankato.
We gotta get to this
We're looking for scouting reports from fans once training camp starts because we need to find out and crown who our Mr. Mankato is starting in about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks.
Abear Award.
Yes,
Hashtag Mr.
the
Mankato.
Kyrese Abear Memorial Trophy. All right, we
Is
gotta
that dead?
We gotta go watch soccer. So